Hey, Detoxers. Today I'm thrilled to be joined by journalist Kathryn Bromwich, a freelance journalist. Kathryn, welcome to the Disinfo Detox.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the program is I'm a DINK, and I've been trying to find someone who reports on DINKs seriously, and you're one of those people. Can you tell our audience, for folks who may not know what a DINK is, what a DINK is?
Yes. Yeah, so it's a funny little word that I also hadn't heard until my partner told me that we are dinks. So it's a word that's originally from the 1980s that was used to describe yuppies essentially who have a dual income but no kids. So people who have the free time and disposable income to enjoy their life as they please, because they don't have those commitments and responsibilities. And people on TikTok were recently reclaiming the word to show that it's a valid lifestyle and it has a lot of advantages. And maybe not everyone has to have children if they don't want to.
Yeah, what do you make of that? Because if I remember correctly, I believe you were writing about this prior to the recent election here in the United States. But in the 2024 election, there was a lot of talk about then Vice President Kamala Harris, not having biological children of her own, and she got called a single cat lady or something like that by JD Vance, the current vice president. What do you make of kind of this trend about dinks and sort of this seemingly kind of, I don't know, cultural battle between those who want kind of the traditional nuclear family versus these dinks?
Well, not having biological children has always been used as a stick to beat women down with all the way through history, throughout all cultures and societies. And we are only now beginning to get to a point where women have the financial and bodily autonomy to be able to make the decision not to reproduce. And therefore, it's going to take a little bit of time to adjust to this new order of things. And uh, women are pitied and made fun of if they don't have children, but also if they become mothers. That's also used as a way to diminish them because they just become mothers, and in other people's eyes sometimes, which can also be a very dehumanizing uh, change from being an individual to just being someone who's in charge of someone else, like a wife or a mother, or like your relationship is defined either to a man or to your children, and that's not great either. So I think at the heart of it, it's just good old misogyny, and either way, you'll be criticized. So you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. And I think, yeah, dinks are a way of reclaiming it and saying, look, if you don't want to upend your life and give away all your free time and money and uh, spend it all for at least the next 18 years, if not more, looking after a small child, uh, then it's fine. You don't have to do it. There's enough people in the world. Uh, there's an overpopulation problem, and I I think people should really be taking the time to think about whether it's right for them on an individual level to have children and not just do whatever has been societally ingrained over centuries and millennia.
Yeah, and as you speak, I'm reminded of a personal story, and I'll attach it to a question. But you were talking about how some folks may be motivated to not have children by, say, the environment or the economic costs. But I remember when I met my now wife, we were both having a conversation about how when we were both really young, we just knew we didn't want to have children. Like it wasn't some like ideological thing, and I had a good childhood. I just knew like around third or fourth grade, I didn't want to be a parent, and it stuck with me for life. But I had a best friend and my mother who both claimed the opposite. Both since they were really young, they knew they wanted children. So did you get any sort of sense of kind of the diversity of reasons why people end up as dinks? Is it something just ingrained, no desire to have children? Is there larger like ideological goals or environmental concerns? What was sort of some of the reasonings that you came across?
I mean, there are all sorts of reasons why people might not have children. That it might be a choice, it might not be a choice, and that's not really anyone else's business. But even if it isn't a choice, that doesn't mean that people are necessarily distraught and upset and bitter and angry about it. It could just be like, oh, fine, like I'll just spend my time doing other things that I enjoy. It doesn't have to be this great existential tragedy. There's also so many reasons why people choose not to, which is that, as you said, the environment. The worst thing you can possibly do for the environment is have a child, because that's the whole other person who will consume and produce and discard. And unless your child is the one to solve the climate crisis, it's going to be bad for the environment to have a child. I'm not saying no one should have children. I'm not an anti-natalist, which is something that some people on the internet have accused me of. Uh, I think if people want to have children, brilliant. It's very rewarding and life-affirming, and it's hard work. But from what I see with my friends who have children, who are very sweet and nice, and uh, it brings a lot of joy into their lives, and that's great. But also, other lifestyles are available, and they're both valid. That there isn't just one way to live your life. And other reasons not to have children, time. You can spend your time doing what you like. You can go traveling. You can write books. You can whatever people do, kind of go axe throwing competitions. Really, whatever you want to do. If you have kids, that's out of the window. There was a tweet I saw that was a parent said, people who don't have kids don't realize how much free time they have. And someone replied, yes, we do. That's why we don't have kids. So I think a lot of people go into parenthood without really thinking it through. And then they're like, oh, this is a lot more hard work than I thought I was getting myself in for. And I think it's just good for people to think everything through before they commit to a lifetime of responsibilities.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about in that article about some of the dislike or I guess disdain for dinks. Did you get sort of some sense of kind of where some of that resentment is coming from? I know you mentioned earlier about misogyny and patriarchy, but in addition to that, did you get some other ideas of where some of the resentment comes from those who have, say, children against dinks?
I think I found a Reddit thread about that article, and all the answers were like, they're jealous of us. And I don't think that's all of it. I think, there's probably a little bit of like, oh, it would be quite nice to like have a lie-in on a Saturday, or kind of go on holiday to Bali or whatever without the kids. But I think it's more. I think it's more something deeper than that, where people look at their lives and they have to justify their decisions. And in order to make sure that they've made the right decision, some people feel the need to denigrate other people's lifestyles and life choices, and to be like, my children have made my life what it is, and therefore this is the only way people can derive meaning from existence. And those who don't live the same life as I do are therefore failures. And that makes them feel good about themselves, and that's great, good for you. But I, I, I think we should be coming in 2025. We should be looking at other people's lifestyles and going, none of my business. You do you, as long as you're not hurting anyone. that's fine. And I know there's a lot of pearl clutching about low birth rates in Western countries, but I think globally that overpopulation is a problem, and the only people who are really truly worried about low birth rates are quite racist. And I don't. I think there's also elements of misogyny again of why aren't women doing their duty to the country so that they can create value for the for taxpayers uh, rather than just bringing a child into the world because you want them. I think that whole conversation is quite icky.
Is there, I don't even know if there's statistics on this that are well formulated, but are dinks on the rise, or are we seeing more and more dinks as compared to, say, previous generations?
Um, I haven't looked into it, but I'm pretty sure I've seen numbers. I can't recall them right now, but I think as education rises, birth rates decline, and as women are given more choice over their futures, it just naturally means fewer children. Also, no one can afford to have kids. There's no job security, there's no housing security. Everything costs 3 times as much as it did 10 years ago. So it, there are all sorts of disincentives against having children. So there's many, many reasons why people might be having fewer children. And I think we're just going to see that trend continue in that way, in that direction.
Yeah, I don't know if you can speak to this, but or if this aligns with your experience, but I think, through most of life, you kind of had an idea of where you were expected to be, right? I was expected to be in high school around this age, graduating college around this age, starting my career around this age, getting married around this age. When you don't have kids, something happens there in the late maybe 30s or early 40s where you see everybody else doing the thing that that society expects that age group to do, have children and the birthday parties and little league games and all that kind of stuff. But as a dink, you're kind of it's both exciting and kind of disorienting of like, well, I don't know, what does a dink do in their 40s without children? Have you experienced anything like that, or talked to any other dinks who've had that kind of sense?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit disconcerting when suddenly you go from nights out to like first birthday parties. And yeah, so it takes a bit of adjustment if you haven't made the jump. Uh, and there's, because parents need community and assistance, there's naturally going to be kind of parents go on holiday together, so that you you don't have to worry about your children kind of bothering the other people, or it just kind of feels, I think, more supportive if you're both in the same boat. And so I'm not blaming parents for doing that. It's just something that naturally happens. But I guess I've personally been lucky that my friends who have kids have really made an effort to still see the ones who haven't. And also about half my friends haven't and aren't planning on having kids. So there's two different crowds, and we still interact, and it's not tense or anything. I think a lot of this division is slightly inflated on the internet for clicks or kind of just to get think pieces. And actually, in real life, I mean, there's definitely changes, but I think if you have honest conversations with your friends about, look, this is right for me, that's right for you, and I'm happy for you, but yeah, let's still hang out. I think that's the better way of doing it, rather than being like my lifestyle is better than yours. I don't think that's a helpful or friendly way of going about it.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that, and had a similar experience with my friend group. But what I was also kind of speaking to is, at least, for me and some of the other dinks I've talked to, and they're kind of like late 30s, early 40s. They see their friends have a pretty structured path forward, right? They're raising these kids, they're bringing them to school, they're making sure they have their birthday parties, little leagues. As the dink, though, you have a kind of sense of freedom and can do whatever you want. That's both exciting and sometimes kind of disorienting, right? You're trying to figure out like, well, what should I be doing at 45 or something like that. You don't have that kind of map where someone I think
Mm.
living the traditional lifestyle does. Did you come across other dinks or folks who had those similar thoughts?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a bit of that. It does feel a little bit like a second adolescence, where you're just kind of rediscovering who you are, and you realize actually, I've got a little bit more money than I used to, and I can take some time off work. And what am I going to do with that time? And that's very liberating. It's exciting. You can say, I want to go to this place on the map, and you go there, and you have a nice time, or you do whatever you like. So it's kind of rediscovering yourself and your interests and figuring out who you are now at this stage in your life. There's less structure, but I don't really find that I have so much free time. I mean, I'm always busy. I don't know how parents do it. Like, do they have more hours in the day? I don't know. It's very impressive, and hats off to them because I couldn't do it. I'm kind of constantly running late for stuff and kind of I'm always, doing things out and about. Or yeah, I just don't really see where a child would fit into my timetable.
You tell folks what you're working on next and where they can follow more of your work.
Yeah, so I've recently gone freelance after 11 years at the Guardian slash Observer newspaper. And so I'll be writing for various places, kind of about culture and lifestyle and dinks. And um, I wrote a novel a couple of years ago called At the Edge of the Woods, put out by $2 Radio in the States, and I'm trying to write a second book. So that's what I'm doing right now.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have you back on. Kathryn Bromwich, thank you so much for coming on the Disinfo Detox.
Thank you very much.
Hey Detoxers! Thanks for tuning in. You can find Disinfo Detox on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Every click helps grow the community and keeps those tech overlords happy. Detox complete.